Well, hey, today, Jeff Forrester is out of town, so I have a guest with us today, Dave Wilson. And
I am not Jeff Forrester.
You are not.
I know Jeff, and I'm no Jeff Forrester, but I'll try to be my best.
You're better looking.
I don't think so. This doesn't work. Especially with headphones.
What are you
it's
talking
like,
about? What are you talking about?
Well,
The ladies love bald men.
not true. But my lady does, and that's all that matters.
That's right. And I've never known that because I have a really nice set of hair.
You do have a nice set of hair.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
So today, we are the Bible guys. So, Dave, thanks for coming and shooting this podcast with us, by the way.
When Chris Zarbaugh calls and asks for an opportunity, and I really appreciate you paying me to do this, man. I couldn't turn down the money to do this, man. What I got? I got a water. That's what I got.
Right. That's right. Appreciate your water because that's it, buddy. But listen, we usually start off with a personal segment. So today, here's what we're going to do, or at least what we're assigned to do, is we're going to do a draft pick of the top 6 best holidays.
6.
So I draft 3. I don't know why it's 6.
All
so
right.
I draft 3, you draft 3, but we got to do rock, paper, scissors to see who gets the first draft pick.
All right.
So we do 1, 2, 3, shoot. You ready?
All right.
1, 2, 3, shoot. Oh, you win. He did paper. I did rock for the listeners.
I might have done it a little before you did your rock, but I didn't do it on purpose.
But guess what? I still committed to my rock. I didn't cheat.
All right.
Right?
Good.
Otherwise, I would have cheated. I would have did
You
scissors.
could have changed. That's right. That's right. You're the one. So what do I do?
Just your favorite holiday. Pick the best one. Remember, it's a draft.
No question. Thanksgiving.
That's it?
Yeah, no question, because the Lions always get beat on Thanksgiving. Actually, we did win a couple, but yeah, it's 33 years as their chaplain. My Thanksgiving was always at Ford Field.
Right.
Or, believe it or not, some of you remember, the Silverdome.
Right.
And we would have our meal after. So we didn't have, Thanksgiving meal till like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, because we always play the first game.
Yep.
Still have for 30-some years, 40, 50 years. But no, Thanksgiving, because it's a true holiday to stop, pause your life, and just think of what you're grateful for. And I think it's still pretty pure. A lot of the other holidays have sort of lost their original. This one is, it's a day of thanks,
I think I agree with you on that. Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
The purity thing really struck a chord. All right. Well, I definitely would be a fool if I didn't if I passed up Christmas. Christmas can't go in the second round.
No.
Right?
Right.
And it's because, it's just so epic. And but it's harder to find. It's not as pure, is it?
Nope.
It's harder to find the meaning.
Right.
It's harder, because all the lights distract us from the birth of Christ. So, but, obviously it's one of the greatest celebrations in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of happiness.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
A lot of magic.
Yeah. And it does remind you of what life's all about, the birth of Christ.
Right?
No doubt.
Yep.
Just don't get lost in the old, it's the most wonderful time. Do I have to pick another one?
It's a draft pick.
Okay. My second one would be
we're only on round 2, Dave.
my birthday. That's a holiday. Isn't it a holiday?
Well, I'm pretty sure they meant national holidays.
Okay, it doesn't count. But my wife makes birthdays epic, to my chagrin at times, because she... Anyway, that's great. But I would say MLK Day, Martin Luther King.
Oh, really?
It's become a holiday, but to celebrate not so much him, although he did some great things, but what he stood for and how he stood for making a difference in the world with with a passive resistance, not a violent resistance, and for what he stood for, to say, I dream of a day when all men will be treated equal, not on the color of their skin, but the content of their character. That's a powerful truth that I hope we live out.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? The only thing that could possibly trump that is the resurrection.
I knew you were going to go Easter.
Right, of course.
Of course you are.
Yeah, well, obviously, the resurrection.
You picked the 2 best, Christmas, Easter.
Well, because I can't let them pass,
I know.
first of all.
You're right.
Second of all, Easter not only is, obviously the foundation of our faith, but it is also a great time for my family because we not only celebrate the resurrection, obviously, for 30 years I've preached on Easter, right?
You hide eggs all over the house.
All over. Well, eggs and Easter baskets in an epic way.
I know. epic. I've watched your videos.
Yes,
when Easter comes this year, you better watch Chris's videos.
Yeah, they're kind of infamous.
In a toilet, in the attic. I don't remember all the places.
Yeah,
but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And my family started that tradition.
That's a cool moment. So I have to do another one?
Yep, third one, and then we're done.
Veterans Day.
Oh, dude, you're like the most noble, admirable person.
Well, there aren't a ton of holidays, so that's the first one that came to my mind is when you celebrate the lives lost for our freedom.
Yeah.
That's a worthy moment to say thank you. Again, it's sort of like Thanksgiving, but with the life we live that we take for granted, that our kids take for granted, is because of men and women who served to provide that freedom.
Yeah. So my third round draft pick is going to be very similar. It's
Christmas, Easter,
Memorial Day.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's two reasons. Obviously, the massive part of the reason is because it's the same thing that you remember. You remember the fallen, and and there's something about being outside, cooking because the winter's gone. You know, finally you get that first big holiday, but also you hang that flag, right? And you know you're out there, sort of. It feels very American, but more importantly, you're experiencing the American experience because of those who've fallen, right?
Yeah, that's
and then
powerful
also,
day.
And also, it's my wife's birthday.
I was going to say, you can't add another one.
On that weekend.
Is it really?
Yeah. So she born May 25th, so it always falls on that weekend, and so it's sort of a double whammy for our house, too.
Yeah, and it's also May 24th.
Which is? Is it your birthday?
No, it's our anniversary.
Oh, your wedding anniversary?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Big moment.
Yeah, for sure.
How many years you been married?
30 this year.
42.
Wow, you win.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I don't know what I win, but
you win, Ann. That's funny. So, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and continue with our mini series called Best and Worst.
Best and Worst.
And today we're talking about, what are we talking about today? Oh, we're talking about the best, one of the best parenting moments that, you know, one of the things that we've done great as a parent, and then one of the ways that we've sort of not done so great, right? So best and worst. So you want to start off with reading us from Deuteronomy?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know this, but Ann and I released a parenting book it was during COVID. That was real fun to release a book during COVID called No Perfect Parents. It was really going to be vertical parenting based on our vertical marriage book, Vertical Parenting. But when we sent it to Zondervan, our publisher, they read through the manuscript and they came back and said, hey, you keep talking about how imperfect you are in this book. We want to change the title to No Perfect Parents, which is a much better title because there are no perfect parents and there are no perfect kids. But we really based a lot of the book on this idea that most parents, in fact, I would say almost all parents, when we talk to them, when you ask them, what are you hoping your little boy or girl will be when they're an adult man or woman? In other words, what's your goal? What are you hoping for? They don't know.
Right.
It's almost like they've never thought about it, like that they're a good kid and they're successful and happy. And anyway, our whole thought was that's a low bar. You know, what is God's bar? And so in the book, we tried to say, here's a bullseye worth shooting for. This is sort of ours, and you can craft your own. And a lot of it came from Deuteronomy 6, which is not really a parenting passage, but it is. It's well known by any Israelite. It was very well known in the day, back in the Old Testament, because it's referred to as the Shema, which was like a pledge. It's like every Jewish person would recite this by memory at least 3 times a day, maybe more. So it became almost like as a family, you would recite this because this is what we believe, how we live, who we are as a people, as our identity. And a lot of people have heard this, but they haven't heard it from Deuteronomy. They've heard it from Jesus.
Yeah, from that lens,
Yeah, when Jesus was asked, what's the greatest commandment, he refers back to the Shema. Here it is. I'll read it to you in Deuteronomy 6:4. It says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." So right away, they are stating our God is not it's not a polygod. It's not many gods. It's one God. So it starts there. The Lord our God is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Jesus quoted that. And then it says, these commandments that I give you today are to be upon your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road and when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the doorframe of your houses and on your gates. And so, I mean, there's many things you can say about this, and we tried to, we wrote chapters on this, but it's really interesting. He says, this is what parents who are followers of Christ do. They pass this down. But notice that he said, these commandments are to be on your hearts. In other words, you can't pass down to your kids if you don't first believe it and live it. It isn't something you just take them to church, put them in the kids' wing and say, okay, or put them in a Christian school.
And then drop them off and go home yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
It's like, and that's what we do. We sort of farm it out. Like the church will raise them to be good Christians, or the Christian school. And again, of course, the church and Christian school, we're there to help.
Yeah.
And we want to help you, but we partner with you. But I think what Moses, who wrote this, is getting at is that, man, if you're not living this out as a parent, good luck on passing it down, because it's going to be more caught than taught. You can say whatever you want, but how you walk is how your kids are going to follow. I'm giving a little parenting sermon here, but that would be a powerful parenting passage.
That's awesome.
That I would try to live by.
So let me jump right into my personal parenting thing.
Greatest moment?
Greatest moment.
All right.
Yeah, one of the greatest moments. So one of the greatest things that we ever did with our kids is we actually, instead of doing like big family trips, and by the way, we do big family trips. So big family trips, let's go here, let's go there. We actually very, very intentionally decided a long time ago that what we would do is mini trips for each kid. And we did this dozens of times over 20 years. So it's like I would say, hey, Tori, you and I are going to Disney for 3 days. And I would take her down and just she and I, because Disney's her thing. Yeah. Right? That's cool. And then with Steven, like Steven, billiards, it's all pool. So when I spend time with Steven, we're playing pool. And then what you sort of do is you sort of, dive into their world. Right. And you sort of, try to unpack it, make it quality time and just be very intentional about, their lives and getting down to, what they're going through and everything else. And that's really what it is. So we just would take these trips and we would just sort of, spend time with them, quality time. And I really believe that when you decide to meet the kid right where they're at and give them personal attention, family trips are great, but that's not the trips that they talk about. The trips they talk about are the times that, mom took me, to this place. And so, it really is. It was one of the best things we've ever done in our, I got 3 older kids, 27, 23. I know yours are older, 27, 24, 23. And I think I think it's one of the best things I've ever done.
It's pretty cool. You know what I'm doing this weekend?
What are you doing?
It'll be a weekend or so back when this is actually aired, but I'm speaking to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers football team.
Oh, yeah.
For their chapel service Saturday night.
You can tell Brady yourself that I drafted him this year.
Okay, I'll tell him.
And I actually drafted him earlier than I should have. Yeah. And this is the first year that he's really kind of not doing very well.
But he's going to do great this weekend because I'm speaking to the team. No, the reason I'm bringing that up is they're playing the Rams.
Oh, yeah.
My buddy Matthew Stafford, obviously, is quarterback for the Rams, so hopefully I'll get to say hi to Matthew. But I asked my oldest son, CJ, who's 36, if he wanted to go down with me. He lives right here in Detroit, 7 Mile and Woodward, and he loves the NFL. And so we're doing a father-son trip together. He's going to go down to Florida with me, and we're going to spend they got us a room with the team hotel, and then we're going to go to the game on Sunday together. So it's just what you said, and you're right. Those one-on-one moments are probably more powerful. So it's interesting. When I thought of one of my greatest moments, here's what came to me: the 10 Commandments. You think you could recite all 10 by memory?
I think I could, and it's Exodus chapter 20.
I'm not going to ask you to, but Exodus 20. I can remember reading this to CJ when he was probably 7, maybe 8 years old. I could tell you where we were sitting on the couch. I don't know why I did this. I go, CJ, let me read you something. And what do you think? And I read him this. Exodus 20 says, and God spoke all these words. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt and out of the land of slavery. And here's commandment number 1. You shall have no other gods before me. Commandment number 2, you shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. Listen to this. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. And I remember, I'll never forget, I turned to CJ and I go, hey, what do you think about that? And again, he's like a boy,
Yeah.
and I just thought, he's not going to say anything that, he probably doesn't even know what it means. And he looks back at me and he goes, Dad, don't sin. And he walked out of the room. And I was like,
That's
oh my
powerful.
goodness, he caught it.
Yep, he caught it.
The sins of your father will visit down to the 3rd and 4th generation. And I think one of the best things I've done as a dad, again, imperfect, no way have I done anything near even well, but I came from a home of an alcoholic dad and an alcoholic mom who drank almost every night. And I was a little boy, and my dad, when he would get drunk, was not a happy drunk. He was a mean guy, and he would get abusive to me, my mom. There's stories about my older brother, who's 13 years older than me, pulling him off me when I was a 4-year-old when he's trying to hit me and stuff. And so I remember when Ann and I got married, making a decision, I'm going to change that legacy. Alcohol is not going to be a big deal in our home. He had girlfriends and mistresses, so I'm going to be very careful about sexual temptation. I'm going to stop the sins of the father, because nobody ever remembers the second half of that thing, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. We always talk about the sins of the father, but we never say, wait. The righteous father, he says, I will bless your legacy to 1,000 generations. And so if I look back, I would hope even my sons, I had 3 sons, I hope they would say, yeah, Dad didn't bring the sins of his father into our home. Now, I had plenty of sin. There's no way I was perfect in any way, and I had other sins, but it was like a conscious decision to say, alcohol stops here. Womanizing stops here with my name and my legacy.
Yeah, so you change your legacy.
Yeah.
That's really it. So the trajectory of your kids and their kids is completely different.
1,000%. Just
1,000%.
even watching it. We have 6 grandkids now. And again, our kids aren't perfect, sons and husbands and dads, but oh yeah, we sit there. We were just with them. 4 of my middle son, Austin, and his son came down and visited us down in Orlando, where we record our radio podcast, and brought his 4 kids. And, there's moments where I'll sit and look at just them in the family room on the carpet and think, God did it. God changed the legacy. Again, not perfect.
Right.
Who knows where it's going to go from here, but they're living for Christ. And it's pretty powerful to sit there and think God used us to do that.
I sort of have a morbid thought every time I think of those things, that this is where the morbid comes in. Like, I kind of feel like, because I haven't done a lot of things like at a really high level, like a good level, but I know that I'm a good parent. I know I'm a good dad.
You are.
So at the end of my life, it's like, well, was I good at this and this and that and this and that? Like, when it comes down to saying, like, was he a good dad? I kind of know that I was and am. And so I've really dedicated a ton toward being a good dad. And so anyway, all that to say, now that I'm 50 and my kids are a little bit older, here's the morbid thought. I think, if I die, I'm good. I do. I think that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I did it. Like, I feel like I've sort of launched them.
You did the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like I'm good. And I mean, nobody wants to die, of course, but I'm just like, yeah, I think I'd be okay.
No.
If it would have happened 10 years ago, I'd have been,
I mean, I shouldn't get into this, but my 50th surprise birthday party that you were at.
I was there, yeah.
And asked all you guys to come. It was total shock, surprise, and read something funny, or, like a roast me, and then something serious, how I had impacted your life. And that moment, Chris, because there were like 12 of you or 15, I don't know. Each guy went around, and you wrote a poem.
Yep.
And just ripped me to shreds.
This is funny.
But each guy did that. something they mocked me for, and then they read or said something that I had meant in their life. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting in the car, going home with Ann, and I said, I can die now. Just sitting there going, wow, God has used me. And the last thing of the night was Ann read 3 letters from my 3 sons who couldn't be there. I don't know if you remember that. I do. I remember when she read it.
We did. We gathered around you and prayed for you at the end.
I had snot coming out of my nose. I was sobbing when she read C.J. Austin and Cody's letters, because it was like, this is what matters. Mm-hmm. And I felt like God was saying, well done. Again, no way did I do it perfect, but it was like you just said, it's like, okay, I can die now. Because all the things we've done in our life, that's more important than anything.
Yeah. And do you remember we met at Luther Ellis's house?
Yeah.
And Ann had convinced you that they were having some kind of problems or whatever.
He called me. He called me and said, dude, I've been asking you to help Rebecca and I in our marriage. You never could do it. We're about to get divorced. Is there any way you can get out here tonight? And I'm like, we'll be there in 5 minutes. I'm like, Ann, we got to go to the Ellis's. Why? And she had set this up because I made her pledge I'm not throwing a surprise party. So this is like 3 months later.
It's so funny.
And when I walked downstairs and you guys are all there, do you remember?
Yeah, and John Kittner was there, and then John Borglin and all the other guys. Gosh.
Jason Hansen. I mean, it was...
Rob Howland,
yep. Craig Wickland. I mean, it was just a powerful... It was everything you hope for as a man. The community of men celebrating things you've done in their life, and it just as importantly in my boy's life. Again,
wow.
I never thought we'd even talk about this right now, but when you said I could die now, that was my thought that night. I'm glad I'm still alive.
Right.
A few years later. I mean, I tell you how many years since that day, but that, and when you think what really matters in life as a husband and as a dad, that's at the top.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, hey, real quick. So once again, we sort of have to sort of reference the negative as opposed to tell it real quick.
We like talking about our good stuff, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Well, that's way better anyway. So here's the negative. My negative was not treating my kids, not connecting with my kids differently. I thought just because my daughter is words of affirmation and my son's quality time, and then and in different ways. I think that I regret not paying attention to the individuality of each child, and then they sort of had negative feelings because I'm like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? I tell you I love you all the time, and so I went through a lot of that because I didn't recognize, my second kid's way different than my first kid.
Yeah,
and I think Stephen, to be honest with you, kind of suffered a little bit because of that. And it took me a little while to learn.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. Do I have time to do mine?
Yeah, give it a sentence or two.
I mean, the last chapter of our book was our top 5 parenting mistakes. And one of mine would be, 2 of my sons told me this. They said, Dad, you were more intimate with the congregation than you were with us. In other words, and Chris, when they said it at Sylvan Glen Golf Course, after we played around, when they said it, I knew 1,000% they were 1,000% right. There was nothing in me that's like, what are you talking? I was like, as soon as it came out of their mouths, I'm like, and they said, we'd be sitting in church and you'd be up there giving a sermon to 1,000 people and you'd tell some vulnerable story of weakness in your life. And we turn to each other and go, have you ever heard that? No. But you're going to share it with 1,000 people and we don't even know it.
Oh, yeah.
And so it sort of hurt. Like, so these people are that important that you're going to reveal your heart and not with us. And the good thing is they're still alive. I'm still alive. I can change that. But it hit me like that was a statement of value. They really matter.
Right.
You not so much. And I remember, it's easy for me to think about that because I think it's easier to be vulnerable with 1,000 than it is with 1. It's harder.
That's
it's
a good
scarier.
point.
You're in the kitchen or you're like, so to stand up there. And I just remember thinking, okay, that's got to change.
That's awesome. Man, that's incredible. Well, hopefully this has been a helpful podcast and an encouraging podcast. So we will see you next time on the Bible Guys.